It was October 1929 when our country's world changed, including my family. The stock market came crashing down that month and devastated the nation. Following that, the country went into a financial depression that greatly affected my family and our lives. Before the stock market crashed, we were booming like everyone in the country during the 20s. It was the roaring 20s. Everyone had become financially secure at that time until October of 1929. Our family was devastated. My husband and I had a beautiful little girl at the time of the crash, and it put a large amount of stress on us. Our little girl was 12 years old at the start of the depression, and I was so frazzled when everything went downhill. I was so worried how we would support our little girl and what we would do, and if my husband would keep his job after all of this. Everything we had in our lives was plummeting with the stock market, anything we had invested into. My husband remained calm after hearing the devastating news on our radio, but I could see in his eyes that he was petrified of what was to come in our life. Unfortunately, our life was only to get worse from here. By 1933, my husband had lost his job, and both him and me were just picking up odd jobs wherever they presented themselves. We were struggling to even put food on the table for our family. The struggles and worries were unbearable, and I was having a hard time dealing with the stress I had to take care of my little girl, and there just weren't enough opportunities for work. But I knew I had to keep strong for her. I didn't want her to see her mother like this, a wreck, like a ticking bomb about to explode at any moment. I just wanted to disappear with all that was going on at the time. It was a disaster, and no one should have to go through that. I recall seeing posters of job opportunities in California that I discussed with my husband about considering moving our life out there, but he thought it was too good to be true, and he didn't want us to have false hopes and end up out there with no money, no job, and then no house too. At home, things weren't getting any better either, because now, when we had the money for food, we would have to wait in line in order to get a loaf of bread. I guess I can say at least we still had a roof over our heads. I was ready for this period to be behind us. It felt like a gray cloud looming over us every day of our life, and it was unbearable. Some days, I just didn't know if I was even going to get out of bed, because I was so depressed. I didn't want my little girl to see me that way, so that's why most days I would get out of bed and plaster a fake smile across my face until I sent her to school. Once she went to school every day, I would just cry because I never thought this would happen to us. I can see why this time had been named the Great Depression, because the whole nation was suffering from a gloomy depression. Throughout the 1930s, the country suffered a slow and agonizing recovery from the crash of 1929, and it began into the 40s when the United States joined forces in World War II. From there, the country started to recover at a very slow rate. It took a lot to financially heal from that. We lost a lot in our life. But after that, my husband found another job, and we began our personal recovery from the Great Depression. I will never forget the worry and stress that brought it on. But I never wanted my daughter to see it. I wanted her to think her mother was a strong woman, so then I could raise her to be that way. That is a time period I would never relive, and would never want my child to experience such a drastic financial crash. It was a gloomy and dreadful time period to live through, and caused much stress and anxieties on Americans, including myself, and I'm glad to have it years behind me.